Welcome to Out in the Field, your insight and entertainment on agriculture, natural resources, and horticulture from one of the world's leading agricultural extension services. We're here in Madison County with Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent Brandon Sears. And when you drive around Kentucky, you see round bales out in the pasture. You see some stacked very neatly along the fence line, some of them stacked in barns, and then you see some like we have here wrapped in plastic. So Brandon, I understand you're doing a little project related to these round bales wrapped in plastic.
That's right. We have a project that started, I guess, back in the spring. Madison and 4 other counties across Kentucky are working on this project, as well as Dr. Henning. He's the specialist that's working with us, heading up the effort and kind of the technical side and some sampling. But yeah, so what we're hoping to do is tweak the recommendations that we have through the University of Kentucky for how to put up baleage in the best possible way. And we're finding that we may be able to adjust the moisture range that we bale these forages at, and so we can kind of tweak our recommendations to producers and hopefully give them a little bit better chance to put up quality forage.
When you say baleage, what does that mean?
So baleage is a term for high moisture hay. So if we were going to put up dry hay in a roll, we typically want it to be around 18% moisture. But in this case, we're cutting our forage just like we would for hay, but instead of letting it dry to 18% or 20%, we would let it dry anywhere between 40 and 60% roughly. So we're putting up a fair amount of water as well, but it's high moisture, so we're able to cut it earlier in the season, not have to worry about having 4 days to dry it all the way down to 18%. A lot of times we can cut one day, bale and wrap the next. And so we're able to get the forage harvested in the optimal maturity range, which is sometimes a challenge for us in Kentucky. In fact, it's almost always a challenge in spring.
Yeah.
And so we're helping improve our forage quality by being able to harvest it on time, but then we're also losing less leaf in the process and less shatter, since we don't have to handle it as a dry material.
Right.
So we're helping capture more nutrients that way too.
This project has 2 parts. One, we are working with a new model of a moisture probe and temperature probe that is able to test moisture contents at these high moisture levels that we wind up using a lot with baled haylage. The other part of the project is sampling these bales so that we can analyze them both for nutritional quality, which we know a lot about from previous work, including work done here in Madison County. But what we are also testing for is the fermentation profile. And by that I mean how much acid is produced when this product ensiles. So that's what happens when we take fresh forage and we bale it up tight, wrap it with plastic, and then allow it to ensile under conditions that exclude oxygen. And the measure of that is going to be how low does the pH drop and how much acid products are produced within the bale. To measure that, we take samples with a probe such as this, and we keep them sealed and cold until the lab gets it and runs it for us. So now I'm going to demonstrate how the moisture content probe works and how we use it then to measure moisture content in these bales. We have to let the moisture tester equilibrate to the temperature of the bales, and it's been going about 15 minutes in this bale. And so it's a couple of step processes, but you turn it on and then ask it to measure the temperature first. And it says these bales are 45 degrees or 44.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's important because this temperature and the moisture content sensor depends on getting an accurate temperature reading in that bale. So now I'm going to get a moisture reading using this probe. 54.6% moisture. That's within the range that we want this haylage to be. I will repeat that in the 5 bales that we're going to sample using this probe, and when we're done, we'll calibrate this instrument against what we find in the lab. So now I'm going to demonstrate what we do to take the samples of haylage that we can analyze later. We use a coring device like this to cut through the plastic and into the center of the bale. Then we'll push the sample up into the canister. We'll do that for 5 consecutive bales, 2 samples per bale. This is the type of product that we wind up getting to send to the lab. It's been very instructive. This is the 2nd year of taking samples like this, and as a result, we're going to be able to correlate what we find in the bales to what the farmers are doing to produce this haylage.
All right, well, Brandon, Dr. Henning showed us what he was doing in sampling the round bales wrapped in plastic and what all they're doing there and how they're going to use those samples to correlate, you know, how that producers can produce this kind of hay. So how are you going to use this data with the producers you work with here in Madison County?
Well, I'm going to use it to tell them how to do this process and do it better. And so we get a lot of questions, you know, from folks that maybe have seen this around in the county and thought, you know, wonder what that is. I'm going to go talk to Brandon about, you know, what's going on. And so I'll use this information to give them a better idea of moisture content when they bale, you know, cutting time. Actually talking a little bit about their baler and type of baler they have, if it can roll this material properly and get it packed in and help exclude oxygen. So we'll work through all those steps, but it'll help me kind of talk about the opportunities and some of the challenges that's associated with putting out baleage, because you know we've got a lot of opportunities and it gives us benefits, but there are also some challenges that come along with that we've got to be aware of. And so this whole process of looking at moisture content and acid content, storage length and you know when to feed out and all this is going to be important in just teaching our folks locally how to do this the best way. We've got about 15 to 20 producers a year that actively wrap hay, and others that, you know, ask more questions about it. They maybe haven't jumped into it yet, but they're probably right on the edge.
Yeah, so I guess the take-home message is that the type of data and information you're gathering here is going to help producers produce higher quality hay in not so optimum conditions.
Exactly, that's exactly right.
Well, that's great. Well, Brandon, I appreciate you showing us around here and showing us what you're doing here in Madison County.
Sure, great.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and keep your ideas coming in, and I'll see you out in the field.